Hey everybody, what's up? It's Tarot Tuesday, Tarot Reviews Day. You'll notice I am someplace new today. I am visiting my sister for the holiday, so yeah, Cincy folk, hit me up. My birthday's tomorrow. Yay! So let's go ahead and talk about this week's deck. I'm going to be away this week and next week, so I brought two decks with me that I think are going to be really, really great. This first one is going to help us kind of put a nice little button on some of the themes we've been talking about for November. And then I'm going to be introducing a whole just incredible, gorgeous, gorgeous deck that will probably shift us into a new theme for December. That was my husband's idea, December, and I really like it. Anyway, let's talk about this week's deck. This is the Healing Heart Oracle. Look at how gorgeous she is, right? So digitally created art, not an AI deck. This is a little bit older, so definitely, as far as I know, I don't own any AI decks. But this is an absolutely gorgeous oracle that really captures that beautiful sort of like Art Nouveau, but like kind of a little dark and earthy, that I try to embrace myself as an aesthetic. So absolutely gorgeous deck. The Healing Heart Oracle, Love Letters to Your Soul. This is written by Ina Segal and illustrated by Jenna Della Grottialia. That is one of the most Italian names I've ever seen. So Jenna Della Grottialia, I think is how you might pronounce that one. This is a really cool deck, and I bought this one. So for those of you who are in Cincinnati, shout out to Enchanted Moments, which I think might be in Mason or something. But whenever I visit, my sister Rebecca really likes to take me to Enchanted Moments, and that was one that I picked up there. They have a gorgeous, gorgeous selection. And once I got into the book of this deck, I was really like impressed by the author, because what this was she was going through a really difficult time in her life. I think she was going through like a divorce, and while she was basically going through this really kind of dark night of the soul for her, she wrote these love letters to herself, to parts of her heart, so to speak. So these are all of the different facets of how she loves and her emotions, and she's speaking to them. And I loved how she took something that was dark for her and she made her healing process into something that's like beautiful and artful and public. And there are those of us, like, we need a process like internally. I'm the kind of person who, like, I'm not trying to get attention. I just am wired to process in a kind of a like a performance art sort of way. And so I really I really kind of felt this process, and I was like, that's actually so beautiful that you can, like, it was a lesson for me in how valid it is to put your work out there, no matter what it is, right? That like there's gonna be an audience for almost anything. So I really love this. And she suggests that you do this. Inside the box it says, send healing love letters to your heart and build your inner strength. So she's really like encouraging us all to take a part of this process and to use her deck as part of our own healing journey. So gorgeous box. I love the backs of this deck. That is just a gorgeous image, really giving us this idea of like the heart, right? But also this idea of like balance and order and symmetry. And there's something about this golden light that it feels kind of healing to look at, right? There's just like a friend of mine, shout out to Lee, She knits these amazing vegetables, and she, like, somebody came up to her at a fair and they picked up one of her radishes and they were like, this would heal me. I feel like that's like something people are saying now. Like, I look at this and I'm like, this heals me. There's just something about the aesthetic of it that just feels like the inside of you is saying, this is soothing to my nervous system, right? So I'm loving that. So let's look at some of the artwork. So this artwork by Jenna della Grottaglia is like accompanies the messages that come as part of the love letters. And again, very sort of Art Nouveau. There's this dark but very soft quality to everything. That one's upside down. But yeah, look at those colors. Oh my God. The beautiful, I love the way that like that yellow inside of the red is this gorgeous highlight. And I love the way it cools off into these dark blues. It's like we're still getting information, even though this is like a dark ground, which is, anybody familiar with my master's thesis, that's what I wrote about, was like how to, like, how cool it is how artists give us information when it's dark. Like their beautiful floral imagery. I should just turn this whole damn thing upside down probably. Gorgeous. I love how drippy this one is, the shadow, right? It's like we're getting the drama, we're getting the intensity of these love letters that she's written to herself. But hey baby, it's my husband. Like there's this softness about it as though it's coming from a place of memory, which I think really goes with the fact that this is a deck on her reflecting on a dark period of her life rather than like being in the throes of it. So there's this softness, this ethereal kind of quality to it, even though it's still like very, very like textural. There's a lot of intricacy, but I love the way that light is being handled in this deck, where you have these very, very soft points of emphasis using the light. It just melts all of my butter. Like every single little pat of my stick of butter, it just melts. Gorgeous, right? There's a beautiful one. So yeah, it sort of reminds me of, there's an artist, she died, I think, right around maybe like 2022 or so, Hung Liu, who I really love. And she talks about like memory with her artwork as well. And she uses a lot of the same sort of like layers and layers, and it's not exactly fully resolved, but there's this beautiful softness and like a dripping quality to things. And so, yeah, I think that this artist is sort of encapsulating memory, or articulating really memory in the same way, which is really beautiful. So Healing Heart. Yeah, we'll do one more because look at how beautiful that is. Ah. So this one also fairly easy to read. You have, there's a number, right? And then you have what facet of her heart this is. So for instance, this card is the intuitive heart. So this love letter would have been a letter to her own intuitive nature. But she also is again giving us some help. Step into your true destiny, right? So you don't necessarily need the book if you are doing a reading with this. The book, though, is really useful. It includes the original letter. I'm sure there's probably some sort of editing that was done or something. But yeah, we have the letter. And then we have like some tips for heart healing around this issue. So it's this oracle, it's all about healing. And I thought that this would be a great idea to pull out because we've had all through November this kind of story arc, which is talking to us about settling down for winter on not just a literal, but a metaphorical way, and hoping for spring. And last week, it really touched into the fact that like, November is a month for both gratitude and then also like reflection on healing that needs to be done, right? Especially if we're, thinking about like the indigeneity of the land that we're on. And, for those of us who try to, bring this story of indigenous nations here in the United States, together with the fact that, through no fault of our own, like me, I was just kind of born here. And I was born here because a bunch of Italians had a really shit time and needed someplace safe to send their children, right? So it's a complicated story. And so when I think of November, I always do kind of think of like this negotiation of gratitude and healing. And so I thought this might be a great deck for us to kind of button up the story we've been given for November. And this story that we've been given for November, and give us something to kind of reflect on before we move into December. So this one says, this is number 1. So it's the first card in the deck, and it's called Hurt Heart, I See You, right? So however these messages over the month of November might have landed for those of you, because this is a collective reading. So some of you, it may land in a way that's talking about what society is like right now. Some of us might be having a personal dark night of the soul right now. But all through November, the cards have been asking us to reflect on it, but also have hope. And so the fact that I want to button things up and say, hey, let's move on, right? And then I'm getting the hurt heart. I don't necessarily see that as pain, reflect on all the pain, but it is a fact that we can't bypass shadow work if we want to heal, if we want to get a place to healing. So whether these messages about hope for spring and, going through your personal winter, whether these messages hit you on that sort of broader macro level, or whether they're hitting you on this internal level, understand that you have to feel your way through some of those shadows in order for the healing to occur, right? It's not scary though. Remember, look at this imagery. It's very soft. It's very beautiful, because healing can be both. Remember how I'm talking about let's negotiate, gratitude, but also the healing that needs to occur, right? It's a both and, it's not an either or. So we're getting the hurt heart as a collective because we're being asked to just gently, beautifully, don't be afraid to look at those shadows. And again, they don't live rent free in our heads or in our spirits, but we can be friendly and say, hey man, what can I do to help you? What can I do to help extend a hand and pull this version of myself, or this version of, society? How can I pull you out of those shadows and towards the light? What can I do to entice you? But the heart has to be seen. That hurt part of yourself has to be seen. It has to be loved. It has to be coaxed. My sister right now is fostering a little teeny tiny dog. She's like a Jack Russell and a Chihuahua, and she's just this side of ugly that she is unbelievably adorable. And her face is she's so cute. But she just came in, right? They just got her into the shelter, and she was we have to go through that period of soothing her and coaxing her and giving her treats and letting her know she's safe before she can come out and start receiving those healing cuddles and, some healing kisses and make that contact, right? So I hope that was a good metaphor. But that was just, I was thinking of the puppy and how, sometimes there are parts of ourselves that are like that need a little loving care and coaxing. And so I think we're getting the hurt heart for that reason. Finally, again, I want to pull a little something cheerful. I have another one of these little mini decks. This is called the Whispering Woods. So I should have used this one last week because it goes with our November theme of woods and nature. So what's something hopeful that we can keep in mind as we work with those hurt parts of ourselves, doing shadow work as an individual on behalf of our individual experience, but also on behalf of the collective, whatever, like however this reading is landing for you. Here we go. Clearing, make room for growth. So part of reflecting on the hurt heart is, and part of doing shadow work is clearing those parts of you that are hungry for that tender, loving care and that attention, because otherwise they're just going to scream at you. Like, in order to clear them and make space for healing, we have to do this work, right? It's just a process of clearing out what isn't serving and clearing out parts of us, either as an individual or collective, that are unresolved. Because we can't just be like, yay, this is all just going to go away if we're happy, and let's just get straight to the cuddles, right? And let's just go straight to, having fun. We can't do that, right? In order for us to integrate and unify all parts of ourselves, we have to do the shadow work so that we're clearing and creating space for the healed version of us to thrive, right? All right, my loves, that is what I have for you today. Hey, Leah, what's up, mama? That's what I have for you today. I have an awesome deck to start us off for December next week. And thank you for watching. And, if you need any further support, book me, hit me up in the DMs. Love you folks so much. Mwah. Have a great week.